Today is a brand new day. Today is the start of a new journey for yourself. You're in a new opportunity for your New Year's resolutions. I know that you put down want to make and earn more money. And we're going to really talk about this year how to make more money. The last 4 or 5 weeks, we've really been focusing on just, getting yourselves prepared, understanding what this industry is, understanding what this business is, understanding what you're involved with and how to relate to other people. And now we're going to really get into the how. But first, I want to do just a little recap. And when you start off the new year, you have to start it off being in the right mindset. And mindset is very, very, very important. Without mindset, it's like your roadmap for your brain. You understand where you want to go and why you want to get there. And the first thing to having your right mindset is understanding why you're doing this business. Why are you undertaking this journey? And this is something that must be written down. And it must be written down where you can see it and view it throughout the day, first thing when you wake up in the morning, the last thing you see before you go to sleep at night, something that you think about and that you're constantly working towards. This is what's going to keep you motivated during those times when you just don't feel like it. And we're all humans. There's going to be good days. There's going to be bad days. But what matters most is not what you do during the good days, but what matters is what you're doing during the bad days, during the down times. And that's something that I had to learn. It took me a couple of years to really understand that, because when I was down, I just didn't feel like doing anything. And what separates you from all the other people is that while you're down and they're down, you continue to push forward. So talking about mindset, you must also understand the reality of the situation that we live in today. And this is very, very important, because there's a lot that are really clueless. They have absolutely no idea. And I had a wake-up call when I was laid off from my job. But I saw it coming before then. And I've said this story before, but for those of you that are new, I had a good friend of mine that worked at the same company as me. He had been a salesman for over 17 years. That was his only profession. He was a college dropout. That was his only skill. And we were in a business. We were in the newspaper business, the ink industry. And he was a salesman. He would go all the way to all the other newspapers and sell our ink to them. Well, as you know, newspapers have been on a decline for the past decade due to technology and the internet. And so in advertising, people are being able to or companies are able to go directly to the consumer with TV and internet and this kind of stuff, and they're not printing as many ads as before. Well, the newspaper industry, as it falls, we'd start to lose money. The oil crisis hit. I don't know if you guys remember when the gas prices skyrocketed. And when that happened, it had a direct impact on our trucks' ability to deliver the ink, because their prices went up. We had to raise our prices on our customers. So the entire industry was like a spiral effect or a domino effect. And he was on vacation, Christmas vacation. They called him into the office from his vacation and told him that immediately, because he was an independent contractor, not an actual real employee, immediately his services were no longer required. 17 years with the same company. Now understand, this is a guy who was a father, a husband. His wife wasn't working. His mother-in-law lived with them. And he had a daughter. And he had no other skill, didn't know what to do. A month later, he has a stroke. And they say it was stress that really brought it on. He has a stroke. And as he's lying in the hospital bed, his wife comes in and informs him that their health care coverage, because it was tricky since he was an independent contractor, the health care coverage ended a week before he had his stroke. So here he is, a grown man, a husband, a father, laying in the hospital bed, sick, with no job, no insurance, no money, and he has to provide for his family with no options, no backup options, which means at this point, he is completely 100% dependent on the government. And that's a scary thought. If you have faith in the government, hey, you can take your chances with them. But that's a scary thought to have. And I saw that coming. Because he can't go back to school, because that's going to take years to learn a new trade. He can't go back to, even if he didn't have the stroke, he wasn't able to find a job in the industry because all of the companies were laying off their employees in the ink industry, in the newspaper business. So he couldn't go back to that, which meant he'd have to have a brand new trade. And I just checked up on him a couple of weeks ago, and he hasn't found a job yet. This is a couple of years ago. And he had to move in with his parents, and he's depending on relatives to support him and his family. Now, what's interesting about that is, if you all have heard my presentations in the past, you have heard me always say 97% of all Americans will retire broke, dependent on family, government, and friends by the age of 65. 97%. Here he is. He's not 65. He's in his mid-40s, and he's already dependent on family, government, and friends for his livelihood. And he's thinking about, well, maybe taking an online course so he can learn a new trade while he's at home on the government's expense. That's a scary thought, and I saw that coming, and I positioned myself so when I was laid off, I wasn't a part of that, wasn't stuck in that trap. And you all know a lot of Americans that are in that trap today. And so understanding mindset is this. This is something that everybody is going through. You all have made the first step, the decision, to have a plan B in case something like that were to happen so that you wouldn't be affected. But these are the people that you're going to be talking to and that you're dealing with on a daily basis. This is their reality. And so when you have a posture, when you're talking about your business, my posture is I don't take no for an answer. And the reason being because I know what they're currently doing is not better than what they can get here. They just don't know it yet. So it's my job to make sure that they know it. So my posture is you are not in a position to be skeptical, to say no, to throw your hands up and turn your head the other direction, or even look down upon me because I'm in a home-based business. Because here's the facts. 97% of all Americans will retire broke, dependent on family, government, and friends by the age of 65. The federal government is trying to raise that age to 69 because people are living longer now. And there's no more, the pensions are running out. They need more people working to pay into the pension program. Those individuals, you have 10,000 baby boomers are retiring a day. 10,000 a day. Not only that, you have, and CNN just did this report, 70% of individuals in their 50s and above, when they retire, will be living on less than $172 a month. And the funny thing about that story is that they didn't say maybe, they said 70% will be. You see, they even acknowledged the statistics that 97% of Americans will retire broke. So knowing that this is a fact, the report came out, didn't say studies show, it didn't say that economists have believed, they said this is what's going to happen if things keep their current pace. 70% of individuals 50 years and older will be living on $172 a month. That is a scary statistic, and this is a fact. Also, over 90% of Americans, when they pass away, will pass away with less than $1,000 net cash in the bank. And I know somebody said, oh, no, that's not a lie. That's a lie. That's not true. Because people own houses. They own assets. I'm not talking about assets because most of the assets that you own is you don't really own because you're in debt. You have a mortgage. You don't own the home you live in. You live in the home. You don't own it. How many Americans actually have their home that's paid off? You know, a very small percentage. I live in L.A. County, and it came down to, I think, about 82% of Californians don't actually own the home, meaning 82% still have a mortgage on the home that they live in, and when they pass away, they're passing on debt to their family. Now, that's those individuals' hardships that live over 50. But those of you that are in my generation, for example, the kids of the baby boomers, we are going to be straddled with taking care of our parents, taking care of ourselves, and definitely we'll be taking care of our children. 3 generations is going to be on our backs. And for the younger generation, I don't know what's going to happen for you guys with that debt ceiling the way it is right now. So that at the end of the day, the question is, who are you listening to? Who is guiding you? Who is showing you the path? Who are you following? And that's a very important question. Because Alan Halleman III said something, it really hit me when I told him that all the information that comes out of my mouth is not my information. I'm not a guru. I'm not a sage. I'm not this guy that knows everything. I read a lot, and I just quote what other experts are saying. I'm a copycat. And that's what you need to be if you want to be successful in business. You find somebody who's already successful, and you duplicate exactly what they've done. It's okay to cheat in this business. It's not like school where you get punished for cheating. You do what somebody else has done that already has what you have. And Alan said that's okay if you're a copycat as long as you're copying the right cat. And why I say that is the majority of people are copying the right cat, or not copying the right cat. They're not following the right person. They're not listening to the right advice. And the simple fact that our education system hasn't changed in over 100 years, I mean, it's just logical that obviously if we're learning stuff that was taught a century ago, times have changed today. Those old methods and models don't work. Go read Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. It doesn't work. So you have to already have an open mind, and you must follow somebody who is already going in the direction and has already been to the direction where you want to go. So instead of listening to all my broke professors, and here's a good example. While I was at Morehouse College, I was a business major. And as a business major, I was in business because my father is in business. My father is hugely successful. Just go Google him, Gilbert Ivey, you can find out his history, but he's hugely successful. And I wanted to be like my dad. And my dad said, go get a good job, get a good education, and this job's going to take care of you for the rest of your life. My dad is in that 3 percentile of baby boomers that when he retires, he will still have over 90% of his pension. That's well over 6 figures he's taken care of. And he is an exception to the rule. Okay, because most of the people in his sphere, his friends, will not be as beneficial as he is. And I wanted to be like my dad, so I went to business, and I was listening to the professor, and the professor went on and on about economics this and economics that, and how great what you have to do for theories and all this other kind of stuff and calculations and watching the market trends. And I was thinking to myself, wow, this guy knows everything. He must be, if not a billionaire, at least a millionaire. I mean, if you have all this information, all you have to do is implement it, right? And you're going to become wealthy. So in class, and I had no problem asking questions. I didn't care. And I raised my hand. I said, I have a question. I'm really loving this information that you're teaching. What businesses or companies or corporations have you founded that have gone on to great success? And he got quiet for a second. He said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, you know all this knowledge. You're teaching us how to be successful, which means you must be successful yourself. You're a college professor. You have PhDs. You know everything there is to know about business. And for us to be successful, we got to go through you. We have to know this information. So what evidence do you have to show as proof that what you're teaching actually works? He didn't like that too much. And since I sat in the middle of class, his response was, well, listen, I am an educator. I have PhDs from this university and that university, and I give counsel. My job is to teach you. I haven't actually gone out there and done it. And my problem with that was, well, then what you're teaching is theory. You're not teaching actual fact. You haven't experienced this yourself. And you're trying to teach us on something that you haven't done yourself. And let's just say I had to change my major to political science. And I changed my major to political science, and that led me to Patrick Kennedy. And Patrick Kennedy had a very good conversation with me. He won't remember it today, but I remember it, and I will never forget it. And I was telling me I want to be a politician, I want to run for office and this and that. I want to be, you have to be 28 to run for Congress, 35 for president. I had all these big dreams. I was 21 years old. And he asked me, he said, well, listen, what's your game plan? You still have about 8 years to go before you can even run for a major office. So what's your game plan? And I told him, well, I'll go to law school and go into the law field, try to make some money. He said, well, are you independently wealthy? No. Is your family wealthy? No. Do you have contacts, benefactors who can support you on your journey until this happens? No. So, okay, the first thing you must do is become wealthy or financially secure. You cannot work a job and think you're going to accomplish the things that you want to do because you need the time. You need the 8 hours in the day. He said, if you're from L.A., find 50,000 people out of millions to give you $1 every single month. You're a smart kid. Go find 50,000 people to give you $1 every single month. $1 is not going to hurt 50,000 people's pockets. If you want to go bold, have them give you $1 a day. They can afford $30 in a month. Remember that figure. $1 a day. And he said the reason being is if you have this happening, then you will have money coming in no matter what you do, and now you have a base and a foundation to travel, to meet people, to invest in other opportunities and other people who will turn around and invest in you later down the line. Money is nothing but a resource. It's energy that you use to manipulate to whatever you want to happen in your life. See, wealthy people have a completely different concept of money than broke and poor people do. And that stuck with me, and that's before I ever heard of network marketing. Now, who am I going to listen to? My college professor who has all the PhDs and all the knowledge in the world and is broke, making $50,000, $60,000 a year? Or am I going to listen to Patrick Kennedy, whose family has generational wealth? They are rich from the birth canal. They have learned how to put money into a trust fund for their newborn baby, and by the time that baby is 25 years old, that it's $5 million turns to $25, $30 million. I listen to the Kennedys, and that's how the road that I'm on today. So it's very important you guys understand this mindset. Now I'm going to switch gears because I said we're going to be talking about how to make your dreams come true, how to make your desires and all of your